Good morning and welcome everyone to the Moneycontrol live stream. You're watching the opening bell and I'm your host Nickey Mirchandani. Well, Indian equities are set for a cautious start. Intraday reversal trend eyed. GIFT Nifty signals a positive start coming in for Dalal Street. US stock markets indices ended mostly lower on Thursday. They were dragged by a sell-off in the blue chip stocks, essentially led by the sharp knock that they saw in Apple shares. Asian shares stumble as dollar juggernaut on a roll, and in terms of the FII data, they've sold shares to an extent of 758 crore and DIIs have bought but to a minuscule amount that way. In an encouraging development for the Indian equity markets, demat account openings have hit a 19-month high for the month of August amidst the mid-cap and the small-cap rally. Demat total count now crosses 12.66 crore. In terms of FNOQs that we have, FIIs, they've been net buyers in the index futures, in the stock futures, along with that being the buyers in the bank Nifty futures. However, they've been sellers both on option fronts, they've been sellers in the bank Nifty options, along with that being sellers in the index options overall. What we have in the ban, FNO ban, what comes in new in the ban is Punjab National Bank, and what still remains in the bank, however, beg your pardon, that still remains in the ban is Indiabulls Housing Finance, Balrampur Chini, BHEL, Delta Corp, India Cement for that matter, and Manappuram Finance, along with that of SAIL. Also, if let's get going and know more about the trade setup, the strategies, about the day, FNO updates. We're being joined with by Osho Krishan, Senior Analyst, Technical and Derivative Research at Angel One. Morning there.
Good morning, Nickey. Well, looking at the overall trades that we have seen from past trading session, we are very much bullish on the market because the major hurdles of 19,680 and 19,700, which was the bearish gap on the daily time frame, that has been conquered by Nifty. So overall, the major consolidation zone has been conquered by Nifty, and we are expecting that the move should be positive in the coming period. But even looking at the past 4 days of performance, there has been a very straightaway buying process that can be seen. So at present, one should not be very much complacent in the market because some kind of dips or some kind of profit booking can be seen before we hit the 20,000 mark in the coming period. So one should try to gauge on buy on dip strategies, that any dip towards the levels of 19,650 and 600, because overall if we will be seeing the derivative setup, then 19,600 have seen a very decent write-up from the put writers. So that means 19,600 will be acting as a very strong support zone, and any dip comes towards 19,600 should be auguring well for the bulls. So one should try to gauge on the dips with a long strategy. And even for the bank Nifty also, bank Nifty, if we have to see then the mark of 45,000 is yet to be achieved. But overall, the trajectory is looking positive. And from the past 1 day trading session, we can expect that the bullish momentum should continue. But on the higher end, still we are having 45,400 and 45,500 as the nearest resistance zone for bank Nifty.
Osho, you started today before I could answer or ask you any question, but to ask how is the weekend shaping up for you? What's different in trade today? You think intraday reversal would be at play, just like the trend that we've seen in the previous last 5 sessions? Do you think intraday reversal today also will be pretty much at play?
See, looking at the yesterday's development, there has been a lot of participation from the heavyweights. So that means major heavyweights have seen some kind of buying emergence finally in the market. So the slumber phase, which was very long, which was stuck in the market for a long duration of time, now our market has came out from that slumber phase. So now we are expecting that we can witness a very strong up move, because if we will be talking about the September contract or the September month, it has been very tremendous for the buyers or the bulls. So that means from here onwards, one can expect the upside to continue. But even on the practical aspect, one should not be very much complacent, because there has been a continuous rally of nearly 5 day trading session. So one should not become very much complacent and should patiently wait for some strong dip to add even aggressively long positions in the market.
All right, your two recommendation before we address the stocks and news. Not much of news flow today, but a couple of names that deserve a mention. Osho, come back on this one. What do you make out of the UBL? You know, the stock saw a maximum amount of uptick in previous session trade. How are you looking at it today? And any two recommendation for our viewers this morning?
Coming for the view in UBL has seen a very strong breakout in yesterday's session from the levels of 1600. So from there onwards, we are expecting the upward rally to continue. Even if we will be talking about the technical patterns, then it has made a cup and handle pattern breakout in yesterday's session, for which the target comes nearly 1760 and 1750 odd levels. So from here onwards, the upside rally should continue in UBL. And one should expect a decent gradual up move towards the zone of 1750 and 1760 in the short-term period. And coming to the technical picks for today's session and positional basis also, one should look for participation in the power sector, because power sector is looking very positive. So the first recommendation on the basis of technicals is power grid. Power grid is having a very strong formation. From past 2 or 3 trading session, it was consolidating near the zone of 250, 255, and currently is hovering above the resistance zone of 255. So one should try to accumulate power grid around the current market price of 257, 256 for the upside target of 265 in the short-term period, keeping a strict stop loss of 252. And the other counter which is looking very positive is from the PSU bank sector. Canara Bank is looking very positive. It is forming a very strong pattern on the daily time frame, and it is consolidating even higher at the higher levels of the exponential moving averages. So Canara Bank, one should try to accumulate around the current market price. 335 to 338 should be the range. On the lower side, 330 should be kept as a strict stop loss, and on the higher aspect, one can expect a target of 344.
What about Coal India? The stock has jumped 7% on a massive volumes on Thursday. Actually, past couple of days, 2 or 3 sessions have been rather good for Coal India. There is a Macquarie report which suggested that old-fashioned power companies, at least for next 20 years, will remain, at least India will remain on the thermal power. And you gave a theme of power. Don't you find Coal India interesting?
See, overall, such kind of rally in Coal India is very rare to see. And looking at the overall movement in the last 5 trading sessions, where it has moved from the zone of 230 towards 275 now, it's itself a very magnificent up move in this counter. So overall, the breakout which was expected, it was near 250 odd levels. So again, I would advise to keep, if people are already having the position in Coal India, then they should definitely keep this counter from short to medium term perspective with 258 as a stop loss. But for those who want to have a fresh entry, they should wait for a dip towards the 260 odd levels. And from there onwards, one can try to accumulate from short to medium term times.
That's the word coming in on Coal India, almost a debt-free company providing good dividend yields and a profit growth of 32% CAGR over the last 5 years. The company has given in a good return on equity in terms of 46.8% and has been maintaining a healthy dividend payout. It's also known for its dividend payout. Let's just put it that way. And a splendid performance coming in for Coal India for the last couple of sessions. In previous session alone, a 7% uptick on huge volumes. That's the one also that you need to keep on your list this morning. But we're going to be addressing in the markets open just in a jiffy. Before that, we're going to be talking about Rishabh Instruments. It's going to be a new IPO which is going to be listed on the stock exchanges today. The company is essentially, it's got a good subscription. But let's address the market open and then address the new listing that we could have. A Nifty 50, we are looking at gains to an extent of 0.1% coming in for that one. 19,750, well above that mark. It's also looking great for Bank Nifty. Let's look at the chart for that one just to see if there is an outperformance coming in for that one. We were rather anticipating a lackluster start coming in for the markets, but it's somehow bucked the trend and we are looking at gains to an extent of 0.1%. For Bank Nifty, a flat start, though with a bit of negative bias. I believe it's the charts are pretty much lackluster at this point. We are looking at a positive start coming in for Bank Nifty, though with a flat bias, a complete flat start coming in for Bank Nifty at this point. Remains to be seen if we again could witness an intraday recovery just like we have seen in the previous 4 sessions. But today could be a bit different. Mid-cap index, well, a bit of outperformance there. 0.3% captured by the basket overall. Small cap index, look at the rally. It continues more than 1%, 0.5% gains coming in for small cap index too. IT basket is down and out with losses of 0.25%. For that basket, a bit of gloom for the index overall for past few sessions. If you look at the metal index, that's holding up for you and gains to an extent of 0.5% out there for the metal index. Let's also look at the pharma basket. It's doing well. A flat start with a bit of positive bias. 0.1% of gains captured in by the pharma basket. Consumption story remains intact. Also, let's look at realty, auto and banking. Essentially, the rate sensitives. FMCG basket right now, the defensive play is a bit trading a bit lower in early deals. Realty index gains to an extent of more than 0.5% for the realty index. And let's also look at the auto index. It's shaping up well. Rate sensitive essentially have got back their traction in today's trade. Let's also look at the top gainers and the top losers that we have on the list right now, just to see how the market breadth is stacking up for you. Advances 33, declines 16. Clearly the market breadth is in the favor of advances. L&T, Tata Steel and Bajaj Finserv. Essentially, these are the top gainers that we have on the list. Tech Mahindra, NTPC and Adani Ports, some of the other top gainers. Let's also look at Bharti Airtel, which is doing well for second consecutive session today. And Cipla continues to be in traction along with SBI. In terms of the top losers, we have Apollo Hospital, Axis Bank along with Britannia. These are some of the top losers that we have on the list, along with Asian Paints, TCS and Infosys. Essentially, you have the IT names which have taken a hit. But let's address the stocks and news. Of course, we're also going to be talking about L&T, which gained some traction in previous session trade. But today, we had list of brokerages out there which have covered the counter. But first, Rishabh Instruments, which is a new kid on the block. The company shares will be listed on the stock exchanges. The IPO was subscribed 31 times on its third and the final day. The bids were led by non-institutional investors. The portion got subscribed by nearly 4.6 times, which was followed by retail investors, which again got subscribed by 2.79 times. Interestingly, the institutional investor essentially just got subscribed by 0.22 times. So a bit of traction coming in from the retail and the non-institutional segment as compared to the institutional. So you can see the quality of the investors out there, but analyst community suggests a 63% premium, grey market premium for this one. Remains to be seen if this listing is going to be as interesting or as strong as we've seen for the previous one. Let's talk about L&T. A couple of brokerages, we've decided to pick on Citi. It's maintained buy rating and the target price to an extent of 3,175 per share. The brokerages have given their perspective or the rating after the development of the company winning a $4 billion hydrocarbon contract in the Middle East. Middle East. The order has not been officially announced yet by the company on the stock exchanges, but L&T with this has increased FY24 estimated post Q1 due to expansion in hydrocarbon prospects. Also look at the balance sheet, that remains healthy. There remains an improvement overall which continues to an extent of 25,000 crore in terms of the balance sheet profile and the cash at parent level too. In terms of the working capital and the consolidated ROEs, they also have been showing steady improvement. Even the announcement of buyback of 10,000 crore for L&T at rupees 3,000 rupees per share also adds to further confidence on this counter. So to keep an eye out on L&T. And also what we're picking up this morning is a bit of newspaper report which has come, an ET report essentially, where they've spoken about Avenue Supermart's owner, D-Mart owner essentially, buying in a 50,000 square feet place in Mumbai, which is spread across 4 floors of residential tower at Kandivali. This is for a consideration for an amount of around 89 crore. This is a news that we're picking up from ET. In terms of what we have otherwise lined up, let's go back to Osho and check with him as to what his recommendation is now for the IT stocks along with that of metal. Osho?
Yes. Well, overall, IT space is also looking positive. We have seen a very decent move in the mid-cap IT space, but looking at the overall trajectory, till now, the large-cap IT space are something which are on the lackluster phase. So we are not very much optimistic. As of now in IT space, it has seen a very tremendous rally in past 1 to 2 weeks. But as of now, the focus will be shifting towards auto ancillaries, and some of the currently it is power sector, which is looking very positive. Power and related to oil and exports companies will be having some very positive trajectory as of now.
All right. Any other recommendation that you would want to leave us with before, apart from the two that you've already given in from the power space, of course? Anything else?
The first one that I'll be recommending is from the defense counter. HAL is looking very positive. It is looking very promising on the charts as of now, and we can expect a very decent up move towards the 4200 zone. And even going by the G20 meet, today will be having a very strong day for the G20 meeting. So we are expecting that the defense sector should be performing well. And HAL, with its placement, it is looking very positive for the immediate upside target of 4200 on the technical charts.
All right, so defense theme in focus ahead of the G20 summit meeting that's going to be on board. That's the recommendation that Osho has for us this morning. Thank you so much for taking out the time and joining us.
Thank you.
Let's address the fundamental story, dichotomy of interest rates between the US market, Indian equity markets, the surge that we've seen in terms of the demat account. But let's bring in our fundamental guest to address all of this and more. Asutosh Mishra heads research institutional equity at Ashika Stock Broking. Morning there, Asutosh.
Morning.
All right, I'm going to start off with your assessment of what do you make out of the present markets, a dichotomy of trend seen between the US markets where they're fretting about the interest rate scenario, and for Indian equity markets where interest rates is least of our concern. With demat account going to perhaps a record high level, or let's just say a multi-month high level, what do you make out of the current situation, and how bullish are you on the current markets?
So we remain constructive on the market. We are clearly seeing that next 2 to 3 years earning visibility is very good for India at least. And we are very positively positioned in the global scenario where the things are working in our favor. Like if you see, one of the main driver is that earning growth across the sector is very good in India compared to many other part of the world. US earning growth is also quite good for certain companies, but not for all the companies out there. What is problem with the US is especially, when we are getting this news that Fed is not going to increase anymore, but despite that, mortgage rates are going up. The reason behind is clearly that the higher fiscal deficit, which US used to get funded very easily earlier, is now getting a lot of issues on that front, especially the China, which is one of the major consumer of the US Treasury bill, is facing their own financial problems. And other part of the world is also is bit more resistant in buying the US Treasuries. So the problem which US Fed is going to face over the next 6 to 1 year is very different, and that will have both input from geopolitical as well as the financial side of it. We need to be very cautious, especially from the US side, because the almost all rating agencies in the US has downgraded the banks there because of this rising yield, and we need to be cautious on that front. But when it comes down to our domestic market, we clearly see that the support from the domestic investor is a very strong. And you rightly mentioned about the new demat account opening, the incremental fund flow through the SIP, and even the insurance fund flows which is coming in. So domestic flow remain very strong. So in the case of adverse global development, we may not go up very sharply from here, but at the same time, we may not correct very sharply.
All right, that's the word. That's pretty much a neutral perspective that we've gotten. But also let's talk about L&T, because that's where the optimism lies. 2.5% uptick seen by L&T, a bit of a major order win coming in. What do you make out of this counter? How justified are the valuation at the present levels?
So in my view, L&T is moving into the next orbit, given the type of order which they are getting it, both from the domestic and international front. That is going to put this company in a very, very positive territory from here onward. Don't expect very high return out there, but if I say that it will continue to beat the Nifty, at least index in the next 18-month period, that is what my view is.
All right, that's the word coming in for L&T, where slew of brokerages see an upside. They've increased the target multiple on the project and the manufacturing business too. But let's actually talk about defense stocks and the theme at play ahead of G20. Do you see more merit in terms of the search for the entire space, which has already seen a significant up move? Do you think valuations are reasonable enough, or there is an earning catch up which is yet to come in for these companies?
Yes, you are absolutely right. Valuation is on a bit much higher side of it, and we need to see the execution of these projects now. Orders book is quite high for them, but how the billings and everything will work from here, we need to look at it. Yes, today or next 3 days we have a G20 summit there, and probably some more positive news we may get, because only few days back we got that US House has rectified all the deals of which Prime Minister Modi and President of the US has entered in the month of the June. So that is a positive sentiment which is carrying in the market at this point of time. But I will say it is to be a bit cautious on the sector. If you are invested, we remain invested. But if you want to a new entrant, then it will be a little bit late for you.
You know, something like United Breweries also caught a lot of attention in the previous session of trade. Today also the stock is on a move. Stock rose as much as 5% on Thursday after the company announced the appointment of its new managing director and the CEO as Vivek Gupta. Futures data at least indicates a short covering of positions for this one. But the bears could be back unless the company is able to show consistency in terms of the profit margins and the execution. What do you think about the fundamentals of this company?
See, fundamental is looking good. We need to hear from the new management what is their view and how they want to take it forward out there. But normally, when we all see that whenever the new management comes, take control of the company, investors are quite interested about it. But we need to give a few quarters to see what actual commentary comes from management over next not only one quarter but next 1 or 2 quarters, and how the delivery is panning out for them.
What is your assessment overall on the power stocks, essentially Coal India, which has seen significant uptick in the previous session of trade? Actually, not just previous session of trade, a past couple of sessions there. It's a dividend-rich company, perhaps clocking in decent amount of profits, and is known for the dividend payout ratio. With the stock prices now catching up, finally, do you see merits in holding this stock, or how do you look at it within the power space? What do you like?
So if you look at the power space, we have seen a very, very strong demand for the power in the month of August, 22% YOY growth in the power sector demand growth, which was unusual out there. The reason for this is surely the monsoon was very, less across the country, and that's why the normally we see the usage dip in the month of the August, which has not taken place in this time. And because of that, we have seen even that IEX update. If you see the business update, they have clearly said that power rate has also gone up, both on YOY and Q on Q, both in DAM and TAM market out there. So it's clearly indicating that demand scenario remain very, very strong for the power sector. And when we are talking about so much of industrial capex and other things coming in, probably this sector will remain in the focus. Now coming to Coal India, which is the way whole scenario, global scenario is panning out at this point of time. And if you look at the production data of the Coal India from the last few quarters, if you try to look at, especially when we have the last time the news about the coal shortage in the India, post that the way the company has reformed itself out there is clearly very fantastic in my view. And with this power news coming in, the power demand remain very strong, and we have festive season ahead of us. This is Coal India will remain under the focus from that perspective. Even some of the merchant power rates have also gone up. So demand for the Coal India additional earning will be much relatively better than compared to what it was a year back.
What do you make out of the entire cement space? Because record hike announcement raises hope perhaps all is well for the sector and the earnings perhaps would catch up in the quarter two. Do you like the entire space, and what would you go for something like a pan-India players as compared to the regional cement makers, given the sort of valuation they're commanding?
So if you look at cement prices, major increase in the prices is taking place in the north part of the country. South is still seeing a relatively soft increase in the prices out there, whereas volume growth is very good across the India out there. So I will prefer the pan-India player like Ultratech in the cement. But yes, the low, means relatively poor monsoon has also positively impacted this sector in the month of August, which normally used to be very low month for the cement sector. Going forward also, most probably in a month or so, monsoon will be behind us and we are into the election years. So definitely construction activity is expected to remain very good. If you look at the order book of the infra company, it's clearly indicating that they are sitting on the huge order book and there is a labor shortage in the country all across. So these things clearly indicate that demand side factor is working quite well for the cement sector. And if some price uptake we will see in the specific reason, then surely we can change our pick. But at this point of time, I will prefer Ultratech from the cement space.
All right, Ultratech Cement remains the top, preferred bet for Asutosh. But also, let's talk about the IPO. EMS is open for subscription. Have you got a chance to look at it? What's your understanding on this one?
No, I have not looked at it very deeply out there.
All right, Asutosh, we're just going to leave it at that. And thank you for taking out the time this morning.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure having Asutosh with us, but let's quickly address in EMS Limited, which is queued up as the third company which goes public this week after Ratnavir and Jupiter Lifeline Hospitals. The EMS offer will open for subscription on September 8 with a price band of 200 to 211 per share. Now, it's a sewage solution provider which intends to mop up roughly around 320 crore from the initial public offering, which comprises of both fresh issue to an extent of 146 crore and OFS to an extent of 82.94 crore, amounting to an extent, 82.94 lakh shares, amounting to rupees 175 crore at the upper price band. We caught up with the management. They spoke about perhaps a little slower margin growth, perhaps a little slower revenue growth as compared to the one that they've clocked in on FY21 and 22 basis. But with this, it's a wrap and goodbye from the entire team. Puts this piece together. Thank you so much for watching. Do post your feedback for us in the comment section below. Follow us on the link at the bottom of your screen. And for rest of the updates, stay tuned into moneycontrol.com and Moneycontrol app.
How do world leaders view India?
I've long believed that the relationship between the United States and India is will be one of the defining relationships of the 21st century.
The bright spot of the global economy.
The growth rate for India, which is 6.8 in 2022. Let's not forget, this is one of the bright spots in the global economy right now, such a high growth rate.
The potential of India is enormous, and you have now a reformer, a radical reformer, who has the ability to transform it.
On the verge of a big transformation.
इस अमृत काल में हमारे संकल्पों की सिद्धि हमें आजादी के 100 वर्ष तक ले जाएगी.
A magnet for investment.
I'm actually incredibly excited about the future of India. I think India has more promise than any large country in the world.
The world is bullish on India. Moneycontrol is bullish on India. Join the campaign. Tweet to us with hashtag MC Bullish on India.